It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Well, there was the Virginia debate between the gubernatorial candidates yesterday. Spanberger and Winsome Sears. Mind blank there for a second. So, of course, Spanberger having all sorts of problems answering some questions like the radical transgender issue and Jay Jones and his pro-murder texts. You ready to hear some of this?
Yeah.
Where Spanberger won't answer the question, the Democrat candidate in Virginia.
Right.
Because it's just like, wow. Here we go.
Focusing on a K-12 school system, should transgender girls who are biological males be allowed to use girls' bathrooms and play on girls' sports teams? You have 60 seconds.
I'm a mother of 3 daughters in Virginia public schools, and nothing is more important to me than their safety and their experience in schools. I'm also a former federal agent, and I work to investigate crimes against children. And so nothing is more important to me than the safety of all of our children. And that work, in part, has earned me the endorsement of Virginia's Police Benevolent Association.
Ms. Spanberger is talking. Please let her finish.
On issues related to what's happening in our schools and each individual community, I think it's important that we have parents and teachers and administrators making decisions about their individual schools, not politicians. And if we are talking about the safety of our children, I would ask why my opponent continues to support efforts to defund public safety, an effort carried on continually by this administration.
Ms. Spanberger, once again, the question was, should transgender girls who are biological males be allowed to use girls' bathrooms and play on girls' sports teams in K-12? You have 15 seconds to clarify.
In cases across Virginia, I think it's incumbent upon parents and educators and administrators in each local community to make decisions locally.
That's what this is about.
Ms. Earl Sears?
There should never be nude men in locker rooms.
Oh, my goodness, we finally have her saying that, but you voted for that.
Ms. Earl
Have
Sears.
you finally
My opponent
Ms. Earl
said
Sears,
that
you are
now?
just intruding on
Are
time
we in
here.
agreement now? Are you going to tell?
This is Ms. Spanberger's time. I have a follow-up question for Ms. Spanberger. Would you rescind the Youngkin administration policy requiring boys and girls to use bathrooms aligning with their biological sex? You have 30 seconds.
My priority would be to ensure that local communities, importantly parents and teachers and educators, are able to work together to meet the unique needs of each school and each community. And that is important. And I say that as a mother of 3 daughters in Virginia public schools.
Exactly.
And as someone who used to investigate crimes against children. The way that we keep our children safe is by ensuring they are safe in schools, which includes funding law enforcement and public safety.
But Ms. Spanberger, the question was, would you rescind the Youngkin administration policy requiring boys and girls to use bathrooms aligning with their biological sex? You have 15 seconds to clarify that question.
Yes, and my answer is that in each local community, decisions should be made between parents and educators and teachers.
Because she's lying.
Yeah, exactly.
She's lying.
I'm not going to have an opinion.
Right.
I'll let the other people decide it. We'll leave that to the locals.
Well, when she says we need to keep this out of the hands of politicians, keep it to the locals, well, you're talking about local school boards who are elected.
Exactly.
But then you get to the Jay Jones situation, all right? Here we go.
All right.
Here we go. All right.
Thank you, Ms. Spanberger. I didn't hear an answer there on the endorsement issue, so I want to just make sure. Will you continue to endorse Jay Jones to be the next Attorney General of Virginia? And were you aware of these text messages before they released? You have 30 seconds.
In fact, it appears that it was the who released the text messages and held them for years. So the public was unaware who had knowledge of these text messages for many hours.
What did you do about
I
it?
learned of these text
chance.
messages the day that they came out, and I denounced them as soon as I learned of
She
them.
denounces murder.
And
Earl Sayers, please.
importantly, at this point, as we move forward, the voters now have this information that was withheld for them,
You're running to be
presumably
governor.
for
Ms. Earl Sayers,
political
please.
reasons. But the voters now have the information, and it is up to voters to make an individual choice based on this information.
Ms. Spanberger, I understand what you're saying about the voters, but for you yourself, do you still continue to endorse Jay Jones? 15 seconds, yes or no?
We are all running our individual races. I believe my opponent has said that about
Third time is
her
the
lieutenant
charm,
governor
Abigail.
nominee.
Ms. Earl Sayers,
And it's
Ms. Earl
up
Sayers.
to every person to make their own decision. I am running my race to serve Virginia, and that is what I intend to do.
Thank you, Ms. Spanberger. We just want to clarify, what you're saying is that as of now, you still endorse Jay Jones as Attorney General.
I'm saying as of now, it's up to every voter to make their own individual decision. I am running for governor. I am accountable for the words that I say, for the acts that I take.
Oh, my God. It's just unbelievable. Now, understand how bad that is. She's winning in the polls in the race.
Yeah, she's still,
Right.
I was just looking at that. She's 4 or 5 points ahead. There was a poll that came out just
and
a few days ago.
If you look at the overall poll, I think I saw one that says an average of 7 points ahead.
Yeah.
So understand, and this is what we have said, the left, this is why the left isn't going to change. We mentioned Virginia yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Here she is. She can't answer any questions. She goes, it's up to you, but I won't give you my opinion on anything.
Right.
Of the two huge major issues there in Virginia, I have no opinion, and everybody knows she does. Everyone knows she's lying. Every Democrat knows she's lying. You know it.
Right, because
Every Democrat listening
she's-
right now in Virginia, you know she's lying.
if she's not saying he should stand down and stand down now, I don't support that kind of behavior, and no one who engages in that behavior should be Attorney General of Virginia. That's what you should have heard. That was basically her endorsement, her version of her endorsement. Well, to each his own.
And then on the radical transgender movement, she just couldn't. I mean, she probably regrets saying no nude men, because the left doesn't want to hear that. They want nude men in women's locker rooms.
Yeah, how dare you?
I mean, it's like, and then she backed off. It's like, oh, okay, you're going to give an answer on that? She can't. But understand, this is why the left is not changing on the issues, because they look at states like Virginia and say, you can hold all of these radical opinions that are 80-20 that people disagree with, yet there is a significant portion of that population that completely disagrees with you passionately on these major issues that will still vote for you and won't vote for Republicans.
Right.
And so they look at it and they say, there's no reason for us to lighten up on anything, that we believe. And the other warning to Republicans, I saw our friend Todd Starnes, who put yesterday, Republicans 2026, it's the economy, stupid.
Yep.
And a lot of numbers out yesterday. Latest deficit, all the numbers came out. The debt has now topped $1 trillion. It was 900 and something last year. Let me just see here. Net interest on public debt topped $1 trillion for the first time, more than the country spent on Medicare or defense.
Yeah.
For every $5 the government collects in taxes, $1 went to pay interest.
Wow.
Net interest is now $1.028 trillion, was up roughly $80 billion or 8% from a year ago. This measure isn't directly comparative to how net interest is reported in some other CBO or White House accounts, but the differences are relatively small, and the trend is consistent no matter what you're looking at. Spending did not move much under Doge. As the Trump administration started, remember, Elon Musk claimed they could achieve $2 trillion in savings, equal to more than a quarter of the total spending in fiscal 2024. We told you that from Elon Musk, and with all due respect, that was a line, that was a bunch of horse manure. That was never going to happen. Doge did claw back some grants and fire some probationary employees. Some savings, they say, will show up later as federal employees who accept the defer resignations drop off the government payrolls in fiscal 2026.
Right.
But the big picture, total spending, not including interest, rose $220 billion, or 4% for the entire year. The increase would have been larger, but in September, the Trump administration recorded $131 billion non-cash spending reduction related to future savings from modifications to student loan programs in the Republicans' tax and spending law. Excluding that, non-interest spending would have risen by $351 billion for the entire year, and total spending would have risen by $55 billion in September compared to a year earlier. Other than student loans, the only major categories in which the CBO said spending actually declined were the FDIC, because it spent less resolving bank failures, and the Small Business Association administration, because disaster-related loan costs in 2024 did not reoccur in 2025. Social program spending continues to grow. In 2025, Social Security rose 8%. Why? Oh, I'd be on the bill. Yeah, because my birthday was in September.
Yeah.
Because Gary started collecting maximum Social Security. I waited till I was 70 to collect.
And people may not know this, but it's in Social Security, it was written that if you could work side by side with Eric Harley for 20 years, that we would give you $1 billion a year in Social Security if you just made it that 20 years. And so that added greatly to, of course, Social Security.
So it rose 8%, partly because Congress's decision to expand benefits for certain public sector employees, retroactive to January of 2024. Medicare and Medicaid also each increased by 8%. Medicare enrollment is rising, the CBO said, because of eligibility restrictions and Republicans' tax and spend legislation.
Yeah.
Medicaid costs likely won't grow as fast in the future. Deficits and debt remain historically high.
Well, it's, again, when you look at the interest on the debt, again, of every $5 coming in, a dollar goes to the interest. That's going to continue to grow.
The only little bit good news is share of gross domestic product. The deficit did shrink to 6% in fiscal 2025 from 6.4%. But without the student loan program accounting adjustment, it would have been roughly unchanged.
Okay.
And the other thing that came out as we brought you, manufacturing down 7 months in a row.
Yeah.
Tariffs, what do they get here? Tariffs, $191 billion in the year.
Right.
And they view that, I mean, that's where you see everywhere they're saying that's why it's so successful. Now, the other things we saw this week is soy farmers are going to get a bailout because they've lost everything they've lost 60, 70% of their business because they can't sell their soy because of reciprocal tariffs.
They had all these crops and nowhere to send them.
On soy, so Congress will be looking to, and this is going to be really interesting because the administration wants now cash subsidies for farmers. They want cash subsidies, as we saw, the Trump administration wants to expand Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which means more government involvement in mortgages, which we are completely and totally against. We were against them in 2008. We were against it in the 90s when the liberals were pushing it. We're against it now. And then Wall Street Journal announcing yesterday that now because housing costs are skyrocketing because of the tariffs, the president wants subsidies for home builders. That's taxpayer cash for home builders. All of those are not good signs.
No, they aren't. That means you see a very big weakening in all those areas. Yeah. And the only answer is government money? No.
And the reality is, in politics, you can get the Nobel Peace Prize. You can do great things in foreign policy. If you don't solve the personal economy of people, and that's what the Republicans said they were going to do when they got in. Mm-hmm. And that means prices, if they don't come down. Now, the Democrats are so insane, you never know. But if it doesn't come down, you have challenges next year.
Yep. There's a lot of news about the stocks being overvalued right now and the job situation and all of that. You don't want this nightmare going into 26, which means the plan has to be in place yesterday. And they can't come together on a CR.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how you do it. I don't know what you do. But something has to be done, and spending more government money would not be part of my suggestions. But that's what they're looking at.
And also the tariff checks that the president was talking about, now he's dropped that. You haven't heard that for the last week.
Right.
But that was $1,000 to $2,000. And then the farmer subsidies, and then the
tariffs are still in court until whenever SCOTUS makes that decision.
Yeah, it would be November they're hearing it.
Right. So it may be, December, January, whenever. I don't know when that will be, but
and if
everything's on hold until
they lose that, apparently part of the settlement would be you have to pay all those tariffs back to those companies.
That's according to Scott Bessent.
Right.
He said it.
Yeah.
So
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
After fuel, an owner-operator's second biggest variable cost is tires. To save, get as much life out of them as possible with good habits. Maintain proper inflation. It's free and easy, yet it's the highest saving maintenance you can perform on the truck. Improper inflation is by far the greatest reason tires fail early. Perform routine maintenance. If a technician can by hand initiate irregular movements in tie rod ends, kingpins, wheel bearings, and torque rods, that spells trouble. Fight irregular wear by replacing suspension components. On the steer axle, change your shocks at least as often as you change your tires. On the drive axle, replace shocks halfway through the tire's life, and when the tires are changed too. Finally, employ good driving habits. You have full control here. More conservative driving over rough surfaces helps reduce wear. Speeding, hard braking, curbing, and tight turns cause tires to wear fast. On the other hand, steady acceleration, braking, and steering can extend the life, saving a bundle. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section on the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. More on the peace deal coming up following the bottom of the hour. And, wow, a radical leftist, it seems, according to the New York Post, from the Social Post, the suspect of the Pacific Palisades fire.
Yeah.
It wasn't climate change.
Right.
Well, you said it was. Cause
we'll talk about that.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. So, the New York Post had an exclusive story. Jonathan Rinderneck, the suspected arsonist arrested this week in connection to the destructive Pacific Palisades fire earlier this year, allegedly ranted about President Trump and climate change on social media.
Are you telling me somebody who is clearly on the left is violence and believes in destruction?
The exclusive report from the New York Post probed his social media posts showing he allegedly ranted on Facebook about the coming eco-apocalypse while mocking President Trump and encouraging people to become vegans. One article he shared, climate change will force a new American migration, from ProPublica, even included a thumbnail showing wildfires raging across a California hillside neighborhood. That 2020 opened by discussing blazing West Coast temperatures. He also allegedly posted photos on his Facebook of Trump supporters crying after the president lost the 2020 election while linking to a Harris-Biden fundraiser page. One article read, Senator Kamala Harris says meat is destroying the planet. Another, Antarctica's ice shelves have lost millions of metric tons of ice, from Scientific American that he shared. Another one, a shift to plant-based diets would create up to 19 million jobs in Latin America and the Caribbean. Other photos reportedly on his page showed him with his face painted like a skull, like Putty going to the hockey game on Seinfeld, covered in blood.
High five.
Investigators, got to support the team.
I guess.
Investigators alleged in an affidavit that Rinderneck disclosed to a family member that he had burned a Bible months before he allegedly lighted the deadly fire.
Yeah.
He also allegedly disclosed this information with ChatGPT. I literally burnt the Bible that I had. It felt amazing. I felt so liberated. He allegedly said in a digital exchange per the San Francisco Chronicle. Investigators identified him as a suspect quickly and had interviewed him by January 24th, a week before the fire was fully contained. Surveillance footage showed him and his vehicle in an area at the time the fire began. Additional phone records revealed he and no one else was present at the site, officials said. He allegedly donated $2 to former President Joe Biden's 2020 campaign. As Breitbart reported, the 29-year-old suspect was arrested in Florida. Reuters also reported he allegedly recorded videos on his phone of firefighters attempting to extinguish the flames. Wow. While we cannot undo the damage and destruction that was done, we hope his arrest and charges against him bring some measure of justice to the victims of this horrific tragedy. Wow.
Yeah.
The Eaton fire ignited the same day in the area of northern Pasadena, killed another 19 people and destroyed about 9,400 structures. No arrest has been made in connection to that fire, and that cause remains unknown, though locals have alleged it sparked from a SoCal Edison transmission tower.
Right.
So,
well, and, you know, they were, about this fire, they were talking about the Pacific Palisades fire. They kept talking about climate change, climate change, climate change, climate change, climate change. Well, it was somebody who believed in the whole climate change thing, according to authorities. You know, it's How many more examples do we need of the destructive, dangerous, violent left? You know, you saw the other day with the president at the White House and talking about Antifa and everything else. Kristi Noem was there, and they were talking about how dangerous these leftists can be. But I don't think you even need to get the data from the Department of Homeland Security or any other agency. We're seeing it play out on the news. As in this case, the death and destruction caused by somebody who was hell-bent to cause it on the left. How many recent examples do we have that's right there in front of your eyes? And I said it 2 years ago, and this applied to everything. After October 7th, radicals on one side, everybody else on the other.
Well, let's talk about the left.
All right.
Here's from CNN talking about Letitia James being indicted. Here we go.
All right.
Aside for a second, what Tish James, and again, we're still getting the details, but if it's related to this mortgage issue, I mean, this is something that everyone in America, or many people at least, if you're lucky enough to be able to buy a house in America, you deal with this, right? The federal government doesn't go after all of these people for doing this.
Is she saying everybody in America commits mortgage fraud?
Sounds like it. I don't know who she's hanging out with.
I said it earlier that I would, if there's a crime I'm going to commit, if I had the criminal mind, if I was tempted to commit a crime, the last thing I'm going to do is commit a crime where I'm signing my name to the fact that I'm committing the crime, and then when I do my taxes, it verifies my intent that I knowingly committed the crime.
It's kind of like the
it's like, my God.
The old-time gangsters. I think comedian John Mulaney did a bit on this. You know, back in the day, they would just, when they would rob a bank, it would take 2 hours for any authorities to get there. And you tell them the so-and-so gang did it. They actually blurted it out, right?
Yes.
I think it was John Mulaney that had that bit. They were proud of it. They dressed up for it. That's what you would be doing. You tell them Gary McNamara committed this loan fraud with your signature.
Exactly. I would be. Yes. I mean, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that just human nature wise is completely, forget about politics of it, forget about the actual crime, just about the arrogance to do something like this. Your whole goal
as a top cop of New York State.
And remember, she was like the people's advocate. She was elected the people's advocate, I think, in New York State, New York City, whatever it is. And that's where she went after, she went after, corruption and looked to make sure. She was like the one that was looking out for anybody doing anything wrong. Then in the city council, she's the one that came up with the fact that banks shouldn't be giving any type of loans to any gun companies because guns are evil.
Right.
And then she was already, when she started committing this fraud that's alleged by the Department of Justice that isn't about a witness. We've already talked about what looks to be the weakness in the Comey case is that you're relying on maybe one witness who will be a hostile witness to the prosecution.
Right.
We don't know what else they have.
Right.
There may be another witness or whatever, but that one we're still like, don't know. This one, as we said to begin with, either she committed the mortgage fraud on the application and you can verify it on the taxes that she did it.
Yep.
Or she didn't.
Right.
One or the other. So if they're making the exact accusation that we surmised they would have to, and that's exactly what they did. We went through the indictment earlier in the show.
Right.
It's like she signed the mortgage. the mortgage application, whatever, everything that she had to sign for, whatever government thing to show that she was, this is going to be a secondary house for her. And then on her taxes made it clear it was an investment property. Well, that means she knew it. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't, we just decided because every year in her taxes, it would have to be every year you would see it.
Right.
It would be on there because if she didn't do it every year, because this went on from 2020 to 2024.
Right.
So if she had changed on her taxes and said no, then she would have been committing fraud on her taxes.
Right.
And so it's just like, what are you doing? You're late. You're almost saying I am beyond reproach because I am the chief law enforcement officer in New York State. Nobody's ever going to come after me. I can commit this fraud. By the way, with how obvious this looks to be, will there be any call for her to resign in New York State?
My guess is no, but there should be.
I mean, it's not like she committed murder or advocated murder.
Right. But she broke the law as a top cop of New York State.
No, by the way, I was being sarcastic, advocating murder.
Yeah.
I was That was sarcasm.
Right. That's
but
yeah,
she's
to the earlier topic. Yeah.
She's a chief law enforcement officer of New York State. And while she was a chief law enforcement officer, she knew she was committing mortgage fraud.
Right.
If everything is legit here, which it seems to be because it's not complicated, the documents exist, she signed them, boom.
Yep.
This doesn't seem to be a 6-week trial, does it?
I don't know how it could be. You're going to have a few sets of documents that are going to be the key evidence in this trial.
I just very quickly, I want to bring up this point because I think it was Andrew McCarthy brought it up saying, if a case is solid, it doesn't matter really whether you say it's political retribution. But if it isn't solid, well, then you have a better case. And he was talking about Comey and Trump. And saying the problem with Trump is Trump came out and specifically said, boom, we need to get this person, this person, this person, this person.
Yeah, right.
Well, if it's not a clear-cut crime, well, then that could be used against you. And I thought to myself, well, it wasn't against Letitia James. It wasn't against Bragg. They both made it clear without crimes that they were going to go after him.
Mm-hmm.
That never changed the course of those cases at all.
No. Full steam ahead.
And they were both
fronts.
Terrible legal cases.
Yeah. Yep.
And it didn't stop that, whatsoever.
I remember the day that they unsealed the 34 counts from Bragg, and the media just standing around looking at each other like, what is it? What is this?
Right.
And, but because that's it. Either you can make the case or not. If you're indicting somebody who's been in any political position whatsoever, then it's going to be political.
Yeah.
Period.
Right.
Even within a party, there can be adversaries, that don't care for each other.
Well, everything against Trump was political.
Everything against him was political from the opposition. But I mean, you could have Democrats, going out and targeting, if you wanted to go that far, targeting other Democrats. I mean, if they wanted to use that political power, if they either have something or they don't. You either make the case or you don't. It'll be harder with Comey. You're relying on a witness as far as we know. With this one, you've got documents with her signatures. Big difference.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. It's going to be entertaining watching, especially this weekend, Democrats and their response to the Israel-Hamas peace deal in phase one of it. Obama came out and talked about it, never mentioned Trump.
Never mentioned Trump.
He got blasted for it.
Yeah.
I saw Goldman, Representative Goldman.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think the difference was this time? I think the difference was the fact that Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey are serious about getting this done.
Yeah.
It's like eliminating Trump's not a part of it at all. As if Trump was, and it's like, it's awesome to watch. They just can't do it. And it's going to be fascinating to see how they respond, just to all of this, what their explanations are. You can tell, like Goldman, was struggling.
Yeah.
They're all struggling. Now, you do have, I'll give credit, ABC had some good reports.
Fetterman,
Fetterman on MSNBC during Morning Joe.
Yep.
David Ignatius came out and said, got to give credit to Trump
give
on
him
it.
credit. Because this is his deal.
But the members of the Democratic Party, can they do it besides Fetterman?
No.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.